Heavy spoilers. Heavy spoilers.
Also, Sam, if you ever want to speak, just hit like the little. I think. Actually, I don't know if you're on your phone or on PC, but if you need to speak, just request it, and we'll see your request. I'll keep the request open. Oh, there he is. Oh, was that a test? That looks like it was a test. But yeah, whatever you just click, that's what you got to click if you want to speak. I do believe we should have a chat too, so if you just want to put something in the chat, then go for it. Cool.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. All right, let's get into it. All right, so this is our review slash just general discussion, wholesome house discussion of the new hit movie. I think it's not too early to call it a hit. Going crazy in the box office, but Ryan Coogler,
and on Rotten Tomato.
Yeah, no, yeah, Rotten Tomatoes said it's a hit as well. But yeah, we're gonna just talk about Sinners. Sinners. I do want to first. I want everyone to share like when you saw it, how you saw it, and then we'll give like our rating. So I don't know which one of you all wants to go first, but I do think like the medium is gonna kind of play a role here. So
I went and seen it yesterday on $5 Tuesday at Imagine.
okay,
I went on a date to go see it, and yeah, it was like 5:30 p.m.
Nice.
what's your
Was there another part of it?
yeah? What's your rating?
8.5 out of 10.
8.5 out of 10. Okay, that's
That is
reasonable.
correct.
All
I'm
right.
mad about that.
What else? Who else?
I'm about to say I saw it the day it came out, the first time around, ooh, maybe 3 or 5, one of those two. It's a 2-hour movie, so I'm thinking gotta be one of those two.
I hate
Um,
2-hour movies.
yeah, and then I saw it again yesterday, actually
Oh,
later
nice.
around.
Well, you going crazy.
Yeah, well, sometimes people want to see it with you,
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
Valid.
Yeah. Saw it yesterday at like night though. Like I didn't get out the theater until like midnight. So
What's your rating?
yeah, my original rating, I'm not gonna lie, I went low. So I'm kind of been around like 8.5, 7 out
Okay.
of 10.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
John?
no lower than that though.
Okay.
8.5.
Yeah, I saw it on last Saturday at like 12 at that MJR in Waterford.
Yeah.
At,
Screen
at, the,
X.
at, the, at the Screen X.
Indeed.
So that was the first time I seen a Screen X movie.
Okay.
And at first I thought it was gonna be like that the entire time, but it's only like certain scenes that
Right.
you know what I mean. They show it like that, but and I'll say honestly, I give it a 9 just given the time and the you know what I'm saying going to it. That theater was super nice, bro. I'd just give it a 9 off the full experience. The
Okay.
movie itself, if I was being critical, I would probably give it like an 8.
Wow. Okay.
But I say like 9 for my experience.
Okay. So
I also saw it in IMAX. Sorry, throw that in there.
okay. Wait. Oh, like so yeah, like normal IMAX. Not
No
like
IMAX,
some
'cause
crazy.
We don't have the big one.
Man, like I would love to seen it in whatever specific film or whatever that Ryan Coogler was talking
I've seen it
about.
in IMAX. I don't know what the difference between IMAX and IMAX
It's
is.
IMAX.
It's
Basically.
Imagine Max.
it's Imagine
They
Max.
just
Yeah.
they just put their
Yeah.
own little spin on it, bro.
Hey, they need to stop that. Got me out here sounding foolish.
You for sure. You're paying more for sure for no reason off the off the brand name Emax.
Literally.
Right.
But yeah, so I saw it as well with Corniche, who's also actually in here. We saw it. We went to the Screen X in Waterford too. We saw it at like I think our show time was like 6:10, 6:15 or something. So it was the evening, but it wasn't like crazy late. So was a heavy movie, was a long movie. I think my initial rating when I first saw it was a 9.5. It's down to a 9 after a lot of like watching a lot of discourse and like people asking some really, really good questions. 10 out of 10. What, easy? What
I'm
does
sorry.
that
I didn't
mean?
know if we were. I was just commenting. I didn't want to interrupt you.
That was for Cornisha or for me.
For Cornisha.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, it can't be a 10 out of 10 for me. But, to John's point, I will add that the ScreenX piece. I'm really glad that we saw it in ScreenX, because that was also my first time going to see a ScreenX showing of anything. It definitely did not add a whole lot to this particular movie, but I do think it made the experience a lot more
Michael B.
memorable.
Jordan's muscles.
What do you mean by that, bro?
I feel like his
Listen,
muscles
that's what you're
weren't.
getting
His
out of it.
muscles weren't even like, it wasn't Creed. I feel like, there's only probably a couple scenes where his muscles were
You
exposed.
see him with that Tommy gun in his hand? I don't know.
Yeah, I know that was like the last 5 minutes of the movie. That's already sat 2 hours. I wasn't thinking about
Booty
that.
hurting.
Hey, at that point, I was like, man, what else could happen?
Booty hurting. I imagine you ain't have recliners.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Cheeks was on
No
10.
way, yo.
Oh no.
I should have got one of them cuddle seats.
Oh yeah, we did get in the cuddle seats. Why did those look so good on camera? Zach
I'll tell
was
you.
watching NBA. Hold on. Zach was watching Michael B. Jordan's jiggle. Yeah, right. He was clocking the jiggle watts.
Oh my gosh.
Easily off the strength of the dance floor scene and Michael B. Jordan playing twins as a twin. I have to stand. Okay, we'll keep that in consideration. Okay, so I want to ask you, what is? None of us said 10, right? So I want to jump straight directly into what do you all think is what kept that movie from being a 10? Because that was the whole thing as it was coming out. It was like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, the first time ever, and then you start seeing.
I was telling everybody that.
You were saying that you were telling everybody that it was 100%.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, 100%. This must be the
Like,
best
this
movie
means
that ever
something,
came out.
right? Like, I don't know if y'all use Rotten Tomatoes, but this is significant.
Right.
So yeah, for you all, like, what is keeping it from that 10? Because y'all said what, 8, 9, 8.5. Yeah, what's docking those points for you all? And this is, hey, I think oh, do you have your
Get a
hand
hand
up?
up or something?
I think so. Are you requesting? Let me see.
You're trying to clock them
Yeah.
gigawatts.
What's the deal?
Boom.
Howdy, fellas.
Howdy.
Hello.
I actually did that by mistake. I don't want to interrupt your flow. But
Get him
I
out
will
of here.
say, but I will say, I'll probably go like an 8 or a 9.
8 or 9. So why not 8.5?
8.5. I think it's good middle ground.
Hey, we all
8.5.
on the same page.
Hey, don't be swayed, bro. If it's an 8 or a 9, that's okay.
Yeah, I'll say 8.5. I've only seen it once though, so I'm a firm believer in going to see films that I think are really good multiple times. That way you can catch a little bit more of the context that you probably missed the first go around of seeing it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that's stopping it from being a 10 out of 10, I think, and I was talking to John's cousin about this, and he made a very good point. But they didn't really give any context or like any backstory as to why the twins cared so much. Especially, I forgot which one. It was the one that was wearing red and one was wearing blue.
Stack is
Stack
red,
the
blue
red.
is smoke.
Smoke.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So Stack, Stack seemed a lot more money hungry than Smoke was. I really would have liked to enjoy to see some context behind that. Like, why are you so, hell driven on, getting so much money to the point where you was robbing people or, doing all these different things? Or what specifically made you think that going back to your hometown and opening up a juke joint was the most lucrative thing that you could have done? Like, I would have loved to have seen more of like what was the reasoning behind that. I think that's pretty much the main thing. And also it's like it was one scene in the barn where it was when the vampires first got invited in by old girl and then like they were attacking her or attacking everybody. And I peeped this in the theater. I didn't say nothing. I went to go see it with Jada.
I know what you want to say.
It was people in that barn dying that wasn't originally in that barn. And it was kind of distracting. It was like a little distracting in that moment.
Thank you.
I was thinking,
Real
I
movie
was thinking
critics.
similarly, bro.
Okay.
No, I noticed that the first round too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. I'm
Because I'm like,
They had to, because some people
I'm
had to get clapped, bro. For sure, they Just throwing that in the scene, because like it seemed like most people had ran out the barn, like they kicked everybody out. So I was like, where the heck did all like these other people come? It seemed like it was quite a few.
Yeah, it was like at least like a handful of people. It was like 2 or 3
Mhm.
people I saw get murked, and they weren't like the main cast at all, because they pretty much show when each member of the main cast died.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like a couple, like a lack of some context and character development to you, and like and a plot hole of some additional characters dying is kind of like your main reasoning.
Yeah, but besides that, it was a beautiful film. I think that scene, the scene that everybody's talking
That
about, like the scene
scene,
with the
that
music,
scene, that
with the
scene.
music.
We gonna get to
As
that
a
scene
music
for
lover,
sure. Oh yeah.
yeah, I ain't gonna talk about it too much, but yeah, that was a beautiful scene. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah.
Sure. All right, thank you for your contribution. I'm gonna throw you back to the audience for a minute, and then I want to hear from Zach and Troy, and John, I guess.
I'm about to say, I'm pulling up my little notes. Hold on.
I will say, I guess you guys are talking about a scene that I actually didn't like, or maybe y'all did, but
I'm about to say it was either or.
with,
It was
with
either or.
with the generations of like
Yep.
Black and Asian people. Yeah, that was just, I guess it was supposed to be symbolic, but it just like I don't feel like it really held any significance to the storyline. I was like, what is this supposed to be? It just seemed a little confusing
Oh.
for like
What?
people. Yeah.
It was supposed to be
Lord.
symbolic. That didn't. So, what do you think was like the
'Cause
intent?
it
I
was
guess
like
if it was supposed to be symbolic, like what were they going for?
that's the issue. It's like I couldn't really tell. It's like I know that they were saying that music bonds people or bond like allows you to like stay significant
Transcend.
throughout time.
Yeah.
It transcends time. Thank you. But yeah,
There you go.
they said that, and then it's just like, how did the vampires? It's like they dancing in there, then the vampire is just like, is he getting turned on by the music? Like I just don't know what did that add to the whole thing. Like I don't know what it really was supposed to do, but it really didn't do much for me. I'm just sitting there like, why they got all these just random people dancing for 5 minutes?
Maybe
of
you
this
just not a dancer for
Hmm.
real. You enjoy music, but I feel like you didn't really connect to like the dance piece of it.
movie. Got him in there.
Man.
Yeah.
I think that felt like it kind of connected to the whole sinners like, thing of the movie. Kind of even the
Absolutely.
beginning of where it was talking about just kind of the vibe, like how Sammy's
intro.
dad was talking about the music and stuff. So I think it
Okay.
was just trying to like show, because I saw somebody online that was talking about that scene saying like that was kind of like the spirits like in the room with them,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, of all this like music and sort of other things. So relative to like
The Avatar
vampires and
state.
stuff. Right. Basically.
Basically, like,
That's
And-
wild.
isn't
I was
that the
gonna
moment
say-
when they like first triggered the vampires to kind of like, okay, let's walk over there now?
Yeah.
They heard
Yeah.
the music.
Yeah.
Like,
They wanted his stories.
like it's a lot of if I can throw in some 2 cents here.
Yeah.
To me, it felt like I enjoyed it felt like a couple of different storylines kind of going on at once, which I think normally isn't bad. I think it's actually good because it gives you different layers, X, Y, and Z. But kind of in this case, specifically with that scene, I was just kind of like, all right. I see we're kind of going for the spiritual kind of, this is something that's really, really special. Obviously, music and him playing. But I agree with you, Zach. It actually kind of took me out of kind of the vibe
scene,
of the movie
moment.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was kind of like, all right. I see the obviously the older people. I think it was when we got to the newer people. I was like, I don't really like the future people. Just how they look in this kind of scene right now. Just kind of, obviously it is out of place, but it was literally just kind of like, all right, I see what we doing. Where we going? Let's just kind of keep going with
You
it.
sound like an old
that was a
person.
major
You sound like
thing.
an old head. Because I
Like that.
the inner old head in me, I will say I did feel a little bit of like a man, like our culture really is like she really is just twerking. Like we're seeing
I
all
ain't
this
mean like that, but
no, I'm saying we're seeing all this like beautiful expression through movement, and I'm just kind of like, dang, she right. Yeah, I was like, yeah, okay. But I can see that angle for sure. Twerking is a beautiful expression. I mean,
It is.
it is indeed, and
You're
it is It can be definitely like largely cultural, outside of like even African American culture, but like historical African cultures too. But I will say that that was one thing that I did think about that, and I think that's kind of some of the struggle. And I second that motion. That
Dog.
is the struggle when it comes to like getting artsy, because it changes the logic of the universe for that moment, and so you do have that risk of being like taken away from like the action and like the intense part of the movie that you're
Yeah.
supposed to be feeling, because it's like, all right, I'm watching these things really happen and I'm empathizing with the characters and I feel the danger that they're feeling, or I feel like the stress about not making money, or like, what am I about to do in this situation? They're giving us slave coins. Like, what am I going to do with this? And then they like just take you into this
Them wooden
magical,
chips.
mystical kind of thing. And I could definitely see
Yeah.
that being sort of like, yeah, just knocking you out of that mode. John, did you have like more things that were kind of causing you to rate it as what you rated it as?
Well, sometimes, you know what I'm saying? I'm not like a super big movie goer, but sometimes when movies be like a little, like this was kind of like 2.5 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like it was
With a
like we were
pH.
saying kind of before, it was a lot of stuff kind of going on in kind of other contexts and stuff that didn't, I think, get explored as much as it probably could have. Like
Okay.
even some of the stuff about shit, like it just felt like obviously Smoke and Stack just kind of, like you said, kind of popped up, and like what really drew him to like want to do all of this.
And where did these vampires come from? Like, what is
Exactly.
What is
Where-
this?
well,
the
Like,
vampires
what
in
was
Big
happening with
major
those, you know what I'm saying? The
Yes.
Native Americans that were trying to tell him like, yo, like, you gotta
We're looking for them. Don't let them in your house.
don't let them in your house.
That's the only house for miles. And they're like, you sure he's not here? They're
Yeah.
like, nah. They're like, all right.
They're like,
Right.
bro, come on.
Not
You
my
be
problem
bursting
anymore.
into flame.
Yeah.
Well, they had to leave before sundown. Yeah.
Come
I
on,
know.
bro.
Yeah. And they were just like, all right, well, good
Let's
luck.
go.
Right. I did enjoy, I will say that they, you know, were really going into some of that. I mean, thing me and Taz talked about is some of that vampire lore with
Yeah.
like the having to ask to be invited in. I was wondering personally if there were any scenes with those vampires where you couldn't see their reflection, but maybe you didn't like notice it off the first, like, you know what I'm saying, watch. You probably weren't like looking for some shit like that, but
I'm just glad they burned like burst into flames instead of just started to sparkle. That's that.
Yeah,
That's
oh,
that
right.
Twilight logic. Like
Right,
that son gonna kill him. That's what I'm talking about.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were done. He was done for, bro.
Twilight, they just get more aura. Stay in the sun.
Right.
Gotcha.
No, I feel that. I second that heavy. I had a major issue with that because I'm like, bro, how you just drop out of were y'all in the woods? I don't like the cotton fields ain't that
Right.
tall, bro. Where'd you come from?
Yeah.
Be for real.
So my biggest thing, which I haven't heard anyone really say yet, and this was like the major issue that I had, like the moment I walked out of the theater, was it just felt slightly imbalanced, really, in terms of like the cadence and sort of like the story arc. I feel like
that's part of why I was saying it was kind of long for sure.
it was,
Like,
yeah, and I think that's why, and like they put so much meat in the first, I would argue like 75% of the movie, probably more like 70.
Yeah, like it felt like that arc as soon as they were like going to fight the vampires, like you kind of knew how everything else was kind of finna play out. I felt like by that point, I at least had a decent idea like what was finna happen.
And then like
But-
it felt like the whole like vampire arc, so to speak, was like almost like an afterthought. And I think it's
Mhm.
largely due to like one, I don't think they weaving. I don't know. I don't think the like vampire, I guess, like fear and danger of it wasn't really as prevalent in the like earlier and middle stages of the movie. And so you start to get like so heavily and deeply involved in just like the juke joint getting put together. Like that itself was a movie. And that itself was
Yeah.
enough for us to get invested. That itself was enough for us to be like, okay, these are the characters I like and I'm rooting for. There's these couple like romantic interests that are going on in situations. Then we obviously have this huge theme and conflict of, the main character bouncing between religion and choosing the blue. Like there's just like some very
Yeah.
very significant conflicts and themes that were going on, and then they were like, oh yeah, vampires, and like the vampire section was really good though, but it just was like, okay, I think that's probably around the same time like John, you were starting to feel that kind of like, okay, this is getting drawn out a little bit. Like I honestly would love for
Right,
this
because
to
like
just
you
kind of
said,
wrap up with just what's the main conflict with the juke joint. Are we actually going to defeat? Like, how are we going to even survive this? Like, we know that Preacher Boy's going to
right,
survive from the first scene.
Right.
So like, let's kind of just get a move on here. So I think that was like the biggest thing for me that I was just like, oh, okay. Granted, it was a really very difficult task to take on regardless, like to try to
Yes.
combine such heavy story. And so I think I'm going to give them that grace, knowing that like that's probably the best they could have done it, but it just makes me question of like how necessary was it to do so much in one movie.
and it seemed like they definitely tried to make the tone shift with the time of day. Like I even think about, kind of at the end when he said, it was the best day of my life until the sun went down. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So, the beginning part for sure carried a lot of that movie, but it definitely felt like they tried to tap in with the horror, like vampire aspect of it by the time the day shifted. So yeah, if you had made, I don't know, but I don't know. Honestly, if they had made that movie even like a half hour shorter, or if it was just 2 hours even, it probably would have even been more. You know what I'm saying? Compact or whatever, bro.
Yeah.
Them vampires, they would have just all stormed them like at the very end. Like it would have even been like a whole people went outside, were slowly getting. They would have just went in like, yep, we just coming in here, bro. Forget it.
That was one thing that I was kind of okay. I just invited Sean. We're going through like just the basic rating. Like, what did you feel like? How did you rate the movie? If you do want to speak up, and then what exactly is kind of causing it to be whatever that rating is.
I definitely off rip. I gave it like a 9.9. I really wanted to give it a 10, and
Golly.
bro, and
what was 0.1 off it, bro?
That's what I'm saying.
because like I'm just like, well, nothing is literally perfect, but I'm like, you know what? I'm like, that's not very black of me, so I'm gonna give it a 15 out of 10.
What's the true rating, bro?
So honestly, if I was a film critic, I went to school for it. I studied film, and I know the film terminologies and whatnot. I really would give this film like an 8.8 out of 10. And it would be that because similar to I forgot who pointed it out, but like just a few little plot points about like where did Remick really come from, or like the twins' history in Chicago, and just like little stuff like that. I think that stuff does carry weight to the overall story, and I feel like there was more that could have been told.
Why are they so feared? Other than like, what other crimes did they commit other than killing their dad? Well,
Exactly.
It seemed like they didn't like have a drug cartel.
Actually,
or something.
wait,
Ooh,
because they
kill
did
their
say that they
dad.
were with Capone. But that's kind of one thing. You are running with maybe a known robber. Go ahead.
Yeah, Taz
exactly,
said they
Tori,
robbed banks and worked with Al Capone. They did mention
Yeah.
that.
And you know what? That can be enough too, because you don't want to really lose too much of the focus of like what the movie is trying to be about. But really, bro, the 8.8, it really does go to a 9, because that juke scene, even the build up to it, I thought was very like just well done. Like it was just like a pleasant experience. It was a feeling of satisfaction that you get like when you eat something that's really good. That's how I really liked it.
Succulent,
I was like,
real succulent scene.
No.
and with this being a vampire movie, that's a very appropriate choice of words. So yes,
Exactly.
Also, I was just, it's like with the name Sinners, it's like I didn't think it was going to be a vampire movie. So it was just like at first I'm getting kind of like, I don't know, demon. Like even though they bit them, like when they first were inside of the room when the Indians had like ran them in there, Like I
Yeah.
really wasn't getting vampire vibes until they officially said like this is vampires, and then like after they like got the garlic and stuff like that. But like the first
So you
scene
didn't
seeing
know
her
what
in,
you
I
were
was like,
walking into.
yeah. So I'm just like,
Did you watch the trailer? Or like actually kind
no
of a question
trailers.
for most of y'all too. Like, did you have that sort of idea going in?
Yeah, I did for sure.
No
I
idea
mean,
that it was
I
vampires.
read about it, so I already knew it was vampires. But like, if I didn't, then yeah, like Zach said, I would have thought like they're just like some demons or like, which I think is cool. It kind of
Lucifer.
leaves. Yeah, you know, I think that vagueness is cool because it just leaves more room for your imagination to kind of take off.
But
Uh,
not fleshing it out further. It's like, okay, now you just randomly popped up these are vampires, and then no further explanation on why vampires are in Mississippi at this point in time, or trying to
but
like
I
make it
feel like
more. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I feel like that if they were to explain why they were there, that would be like almost them trying to insinuate like a sequel happening. And I'm not really too sure if Coogler wants to do a sequel because I feel like that type
That
of.
man 99 now.
It's gonna be
Let's do a
two
sequel.
sinners, bro.
I mean, hey, bro, who's to say y'all could be very right, but I feel like yeah, those little
Listen, man,
details like
what it is, bro.
those details can be touched on more in the sequel if that's the direction that they will end up going. But I feel like what's something else that was really good about this movie, bro? I mean, the casting was just great. The casting was great. The chemistry was great. It
The
was
camera
definitely like
angles.
camera angles was great.
Man.
It was
The
definitely more
film that was
Again.
used.
it was definitely a lot more sexual than I thought. Like I was kind of
Right?
like,
They
I wanna
was
taste
they
you.
was freaky. They was freaky for
I
sure.
know how you like to be licked. I'm like, what?
Yo,
Calm
that
down.
brother
Yeah,
was
What
starving.
he
they
found
saying
that button.
That brother was starving.
Literally.
Yo,
Yeah.
she talking about
Indeed.
wait. I walked here. Then he hit her with that. I just want to taste you. I said, oh,
In his
Yeah,
defense,
kinda what we
yeah,
want
I
to
mean, I'm sure at the time, hygiene was it was a different standard regardless. So I feel
Definitely.
like shout out to her for,
Warning him.
providing
The clarity.
that like just like this is what you're getting yourself into. Make your
This
decision
motherfucker a little
accordingly.
tart.
A little twang.
right, got a little twang to it. Oh my god, no,
Yeah,
Preacher
he
Boy
was getting after it.
Preacher Boy, he was definitely getting after it, bro.
getting after it.
And then another thing I didn't like, I was like, because at the beginning of the movie, he walks into
The church.
the sanctuary, the church. Yeah, he walks in there, and then he got the guitar and everything like that. And he don't want to let go of it. And the dad's talking to him, and then you don't know if he's finna repent. You don't know what he's finna do. But then when they circle back around to it, no further explanation of what happens after he sees his father again, or like everybody looking at him crazy when he walk in. It's just
You
like
talking about the end of the movie?
I think he just
Ending
ran
flash
away.
beginning.
Yeah. left.
Oh, in the beginning, right.
yeah. So it's just like his dad just said like, get rid of those sinning ways, and then it's like.
Cut.
He
He right-
decided
he right-
otherwise. What more do we need?
I had literally just watched
You ain't gonna tell your dad what happened, why you bloody, or none of
No,
that?
I'm saying, like,
low key.
I
Low
understand
key.
that, but like, why do we need to see that? Like, whereas I feel like it's safe to assume that discussion was like it did happen to some degree, but I feel like, and this is, maybe I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, but
Sinners,
some
you know?
some of the things that I feel like I hear you all sharing, it almost sounds more like you just want a little bit more. Not necessarily that like that was needed. So like wanting to know a little bit more about the twins and their backstory, or wanting to know more about what that conversation was like that's fair, because that could be entertainment, that could be adding to the story. But I also would argue that that's what makes it really good writing, because we know enough, in my opinion. We know it's at the end of the day the decision that he made. Yeah, we know what happens after the fact, in terms of like he gets to grow old and things of that nature. But like, what more would you say that you would have enjoyed the movie more if you watched that conversation happen?
I think I would have.
Okay.
I personally feel like I agree with you for some of those, but there were some things in there that weren't said that actually were kind of instrumental to the story.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to remember what scene. I just had it. Frick. obviously with Remick and the vampire stuff, that's one that I'm wondering if it was just cut due to the movie getting long,
Right.
kind of a thing. So that's one. It's kind of a want, kind of a need, because it's like, oh, I remember now. With both Stack and is her name Mary? I don't know who the white girl.
Annie.
What her name
Oh,
is.
Mary. Yeah.
Yeah, when they, not them being the only ones that necessarily survive after being turned type thing, but it's like, okay, so none of these other ones that were turned have any type of personality left in them.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
That part, I was like, wait a second, I can't really get that off of my mind. So
Say that one
that's
more time.
that's one instance. Go ahead.
No, it's actually to repeat that part. What bothers
Yeah,
you?
so I'm sorry, I'll do a better explanation. When Stack and I believe Mary, at this point they've been turned into vampires. Whoever the other love interest is
Well,
Smoke's love interest, when
Annie.
she dies, go ahead, I'm sorry, y'all.
I just said Annie. That was her name.
Annie, thank you. When she dies, as in like a stake is put through her heart, they react.
They just nut up.
Obviously-
They just like yeah.
God, what's
And
gonna
then-
happen?
And freaking like yeah, they just trip out for a second.
Which we can obviously get from that like, okay, they had a strong relationship, strong bond, but I'm also just wondering like, dang, so everybody else just completely lost their sense of self, but at the same time retaining their sense of everything because they all have these shared memories. I can see what he thinks, he can see what I think. Like that's not fair, I feel like, in that instance, because it doesn't really add up in all ways for the characters that were also affected in that way. And also, still about them, I don't want to say why are they the only ones that survived. I understand with Stack, Smoke is like, I can't kill my brother. All right, cool, whatever. And I guess you just didn't go out into the sun and you left at some point with Mary. I don't need to see that. I get it. I'm not tripping about that. But it's just all of these things are what made it kind of weird when at the end, oh, hey, what's up? What's up, cuz? And it's like, bro, well, shouldn't there be more than y'all?
Hey,
But
Auntie.
it's just weird.
Facts. It's like if everybody else died and in the fire thing, it's like, okay, yeah, we was 30 feet away in the barn, so
In the
yeah, we
bush.
wasn't affected by that.
Literally.
Yeah, like,
So
that's
that was
crazy.
only like that's a real, I think, kind of plot hole,
Plot hole.
like to me, yeah. Because I was just like, well, not all these vampires can kind of just choose to not be
Not be
as
affected.
bad
Yeah.
as I guess the damn devil being the main one. Are they evil or are they not?
Yeah. In connection to that, I did feel like it was like I just kind of questioned the choice. I don't really have as much of an opinion on it, but I questioned the choice of making them operate as like a hive mind to some degree. And maybe I just haven't taken the time to think about potential deeper symbolism behind that or whatever. But I just feel like it was a little inconsistent in that same way, where it's just like, okay, do they all actually have the same goal? What is and it kind of makes me think of like anime sometimes, where just like one character gets to be an outlier just because they like have a strong enough connection or like just a stronger will to do certain things. It's like, is somebody going to overcome this like vampire state because they, like maybe, I don't know. It just felt, I definitely feel like it was kind of questionable to be like, okay, they all are feeling this pain when someone gets hit randomly, or like they all make decisions accordingly based off of how strong a connection might be or a fear. I don't know. It definitely was kind of like it felt like they were picking and choosing when to operate as like this hive mind kind of being.
Or not.
So that was definitely a little bit questionable.
What about the good parts? What about what you love?
I love the scene.
Man.
We'll start there, Zach. I loved it. I adored that scene. That was the one thing that I was looking for. I don't know, Troy, if you remember that, like when we were streaming the other day, and you had already seen it. I was going to see it that evening, and I asked you. I was like, the one thing I keep seeing on Twitter is that people are saying that it includes like the best scene in all of film history, and I was just like, am I gonna know what the scene is? And I was just, and I absolutely did. And
The dance scene is the best scene in history.
Why is he so surprised?
Zach.
Oh my god.
that scene
Zach, come
was
on.
beautiful. It was beautiful in terms of like how one just like the flow of movement itself, like the camera was dancing. If you really want to think like
That
look
part
at it,
was nice.
and just kind of like waltzing through and Taz wants to chime in.
He gonna get in there.
Yeah,
He's gonna get in that. This is why.
yeah, music. Yeah, the way the music was mixed and flowed all together was all great. Taz, what you got?
Well, I want you to finish your point first. I don't want to hijack you.
Yeah. So in terms of how it was shot, was definitely just very well executed. What Cornisha just mentioned in the chat, the music was blended fairly well in terms of like transcending literal genres and like times and like history of music. But most importantly, it really just was that big moment to showcase like the connectivity that art can kind of bring to a culture, especially with that being an overlaying kind of theme of the movie, was this whole idea of like, this is what we created. This is what our people have made, and this is what it means to us, and we're trying to preserve and protect it. And it kind of made me personally, and maybe it's due to my connection to like creative works and music and art, it made me take certain things for granted. Like, wow, I don't think I even appreciate those moments where like I'm dancing to something, or I'm listening to this, or I'm creating something, because it's so much deeper than like what that actual piece of art is. It's so much more reflective of us as minorities. It's reflective of like our existence. Like that's proof of our existence in history, and like that's our stamp. And so seeing like it act like that, and I think we actually identified that one on the podcast. I know I brought up a topic once where about one of the dancers, it's like a traditional African dance, and it's said to be like kicking. One of the most like difficult dances in the entire world. And so like for me to be able to identify that and be like, this is like a really significant dance, like that's important, just because that's stamping, that's history, that's culture. And I think that was just a really beautiful way of weaving that in without it being too like throwing it in your face and it being like a big history lesson. But yeah, I want to hear from Tab now.
Maybe I'll have to rewatch that scene then, because give it a second chance.
Okay.
Yeah, brother, you do. Well, beautifully said, Ben. Honestly, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's 100% my favorite scene in the movie too. Of course, I love music. I have a deep connection to it, to art, just how you said. So it was just beautiful to see, like, literally, like that whole scene was just you realizing, like, when you make art, when you connect, when you do certain things, you're literally connecting with your ancestors, and that's literally what it was. From the past, present, and future, you just saw all the different types of ancestry going. You seen everything, and then it's like, I think that's what really. So like, Remick basically was like trying to get Sammy's, voice. He was trying to get his talents, get his memories, et cetera, et cetera. And I think like the underlying meaning, without getting too deep into symbolism, is like, I think it's just he just wants that connection with ancestry. He kept like speaking about how he went through the same thing that the black people were going through, like people forcing a religion on you, forcing their culture, forcing you to like be how they want you to be and conform to them. That he inevitably turned into that force of trying to make people conform to what he thought was right. So yeah, I just thought the scene was beautiful. Like Khadisha said, and as well as Ben's, like the Laren, shout out Ludwig, that man is not human. Um, he is an alien. I'm 100% certain that man Ludwig is an alien. He is not from Earth. Which is hilarious. I've seen a lot of people online saying, like, if anybody else was trying to do that scene, they probably would have made it sound and look corny. Ryan Coogler did not make that look corny at all. It was beautiful. It was like one of like the 3 moments in the film where I didn't bust out crying, but this movie ain't a tearjerker, and I'm not an emotional person, but it was this, and then 2 other parts of the movie had me literally tearing up a little bit, just because of like how it was written and how it was shot. So yeah, Zach, please watch this again, bro. If you want, come with me on Friday. I'll hold your hand and buy you popcorn, bro. And
That's real friend.
man, that's all I got to say for now.
And if we're gonna continue the trend
It's
of
a day.
things that we loved, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
I was just saying it's a day. I forgot I was muted.
No, you good. But like especially how you said, like I think the execution from the cast, like specifically like the main cast, I think Michael did like an incredible job. Cause one, you're playing two people, but on top of that, like I care about both of them like a lot actually. Like
Man,
in like the levels to this movie, I'm like, dang, bro, I want him to make it so bad. What's gonna happen? Like, and I don't think that's easy necessarily to do. Like, not everybody can necessarily do that. So that's a testament to both Michael and of course Kugler, of course, for writing and organizing all this stuff together. But him and Delroy, I think he did an incredible job. And I'm not gonna just shout out just the fellas. The women did a great job too. I need to look up the cast names so I can get names correct here. But Delroy specifically, now seeing it a second time, I'm just like, wow, you really watch him turn from a complete stranger that's just playing this whatever into what like his impact ends up being like throughout the film, where you're like, okay, obviously he's slick talking, likes to drink, entertainer, but it's like, dang, no, he is one big comedy relief throughout a lot of the tense moments. I'm really noticing now from the second watch, and then two has some real heartfelt like moments that really speak to like the bigger cultural part of what it means to be black, like in Mississippi at that time, or even like that time period of Jim Crow and X, Y, and Z. Like you really get that from him. I feel like the most out of all the characters because the other characters are really setting up, I think, the conflict and of course, you know, what ends up happening. But I think specifically him, and I don't know if it was just him, but I specifically think of him when it comes to building more of that outside world. Like he did an incredible job, and all the cast, like whoever decided, uh, maybe obviously it's from their really great auditions, or if they just cooked up that these people will work well together. But I was like, damn, I really want you guys to work together again. Be real. So that was one thing I did love. Since we're talking about things we like,
I was gonna
casting
say,
and execution.
I was gonna add to another thing about this movie is like I'm a big history dude. You know, I've went through my periods of time where I've been like very pro black, very deep into learning the history of what we face in America and stuff like that. And the scene when it was Smoke, Preacher Boy, and Slim, and they were
Mm-hmm.
driving past um the
The
guys that
prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yep. And he was like, I know all of them. Like that part, Loki kind of had got me teared up just from my own personal family history. And I mean, and off the fact of like, I mean, that's just a real thing. Like this movie touched on. It's like the blues themselves is a beautiful genre of music, but there's like so much like trauma that's tied to it. There's so much pain, um, in the music as well because it's like for Black people especially like um, a lot of what I've heard recently is that a lot of people like they cope with life like through music with like through like especially like hip hop. Like you'll hear a lot of like hip hop artists be like, like yeah, I use music as a way to cope because like life just be so crazy. Like I need something to kind of like vent. And I think that's
Outlet.
yeah, exactly. And that's what I really like about this movie. It's just the multiple. It's just very layered. It's very stacked. Like you got the vampires, but then you got the Black history, and then you got the history of music, the history of the blues, the history of the Delta, and the Asian community's involvement. Like there's just so many. I can keep on going. Like there's just so many things that's layered in this movie, and I feel like that's what makes it such a good movie. And again, with us, all of us being Black, I feel like it's just like a cultural thing. Like I feel like this is like something that like maybe 2-3 decades from now, people be like, "Oh, I'll take your Black card if you ain't watched this movie." You know what I'm saying?
Honestly, more than like a Vampire in Brooklyn, to be real with you, which is like another like kind of iconic uh black and I don't know if it's like iconic horror movie. I honestly haven't really seen it myself, but I can see what you're saying though.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, bro. Like all in all, I'm really just pleased with the movie. I know everybody has kind of been saying that, but I definitely got to see it for a second time. I saw it on Screen X, so I'm trying to figure out where I can go see a 70 mm screen. I'm like, do we even have
Idaho,
one in this?
bro.
Yeah, you got to go to like Indiana or something. Like, yeah,
Yeah, man.
You gonna travel for that one for sure.
Yo, Indiana ain't too far, so but I mean, driving that for a movie is kind of crazy.
For a movie that you already seen, bro.
Yeah,
They not
I mean,
paying you.
that is right. They not. I mean, I know somebody down in Indiana, so I mean, I could, but it's like, probably shouldn't. Probably shouldn't. But yeah, I mean, I feel like after I seen this movie, I'm definitely kind of scared, more scared of vampires now. I'm like, I keep some garlic on me, keep a wooden stake. I think Stack's death was like pretty like emotional. It was still kind of pretty. It was kind of funny in a way, not just off the strength like it was Michael B. Jordan holding himself. But
I thought they were making love. I could have stopped it.
Bro, that was sick.
right,
Yeah.
and like that's just such
He
like
couldn't have stopped it regardless.
They was freaked out.
Right.
yeah, it was freaked out. But no,
It
even
was.
Even
Dog
Sean,
saying-
before you continue, I do want to kind of come back to one point, and,
Yeah.
and sort of connect it to a different thought. You mentioned like this could potentially be kind of one of those movies that it's very important for our people to watch at some point in their upbringing. I know that's something I'm definitely going to show my children at some point. They got to be able to handle it. But I not to compare two baddies, I'll say. But how do you all think this kind of lines up with like Jordan Peele and his trilogy? Being that he's kind of been like the pioneer for these like BlackCentric horror as kind of like honestly like a newer, it's not a new genre by any means, but it's definitely sort of like a new wave that's happening that we're actually getting the opportunity to experience live. So yeah, I guess how do you all feel it kind of stands up to those in the sense of like, this is a black card movie, my kids got to see this, so on.
I like this way more than Nope. Like without a doubt, I
That's
think
one
Nope
movie
was.
though.
Nope wasn't really, I feel like, black centered. I mean, it wasn't the beginning, but not the same way. Well, I don't know, dude.
I don't know. I mean,
I'm sorry.
when I think about like Get Out and Nope, I think Get Out like that's just kind of like that movie was just such a shift. Like it was the catalyst. I feel like it was the catalyst for a lot of what we're seeing now. So I like Sinners a lot, but I couldn't put it over Get Out because I feel like again, Get Out was the catalyst for. I mean, everything that we've gotten from that point in time. Like people still reference Get Out to this day. You know what I'm saying? So, that movie came out 2017.
Something
Yeah, around
like
that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Sophomore year.
literally it's almost been a decade since that movie has came out, and it's still pretty relevant. So that kind of goes to show like the impact it's had since it came out.
I'm trying to say the question was, how do we feel like Sinner stacks up?
Yeah.
Um,
From like cultural significance standpoint.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like given that if you were to take out some of the vampire stuff because it is kind of like a time PC kind of movie, like I think we should eventually, or I'll say that eventually it may be looked at, I feel like a little higher than it may be looked at right now, because that's the only difference between that one and all the other ones. All the other ones are kind of in a current time. They have cars, they have phones. What would I do potentially in that situation is more realistic. Meanwhile, for Sinners, I'm just like, is this somebody telling somebody a tale that, when I saw some vampires, kind of a thing, like I can kind of see it being experienced that way. So I think in due time, people will definitely see it in those, like, or it'll definitely be in those kind of conversations outside of it right now just being directed by Ryan Coogler. We know all these stars, and obviously the reviews going out, I think, you know, once the hype dies down, they'll be like, honestly, nah, I don't know no other scary movies in the Mississippi Delta that deal with all this other stuff that really give you a full picture of all that. And that's something else I was wondering too, though. Would I have enjoyed this movie more if I was from the South, by chance, or had
Absolutely.
much more of those? Yeah, like much more of those cultural maybe things that maybe I just didn't catch up on being from where I'm from now.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one thing that helps, but also kind of hurts that it is so specific. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's I like it a lot just because my granddad is from Mississippi, and my granddad and my mom. My granddad's 99, and he's kind of gave me stories about his experience because
That's
he
a
grew up
blessing.
on
Wow.
he grew up as a sharecropper. Well, his family was a sharecropper, and then like yeah, just being able to kind of see where he lives and see his house and then imagine him in that time. I'm like, wow, like it gave more life to the stories that he kind of has informed me of about his experience as a young kid.
Taz, what you specifically requested to chime into this piece?
Yeah, I think to answer your initial question, so when I think of the Jordan Peele movie, so Get Out, Us, and Nope.
I watched
Side,
Us 4 times. That was lit. But continue.
side note, I'm still a firm believer that Get Out is the best movie out of all three of them. Like no movie has had me like mind boggled more than Get Out, because my favorite brand of like horror slash thriller is like things aren't gonna be scary to me for real. Like jump scares and all this other stuff isn't scary. How you can really scare me as a audience member is if you make me think about being in a type of scenario, and me just thinking about how it would be in that scenario, it creeps me out to the point where I get scared. So like with Get Out, it's like being trapped inside of your own body while somebody else is controlling your body. That's a very scary and chilling thought, more so than some 6'8" dude chasing me in a mask with a big knife.
Not to mention
Like
the
this is
I
wife
mean,
too.
no, I mean that's pretty scary too, dog. Like,
I mean, yes, but it's not more. I mean, at the very least, it's like he catch me, he kill me, it's raps. Yeah, I don't want to die. I definitely don't want to die in a horrific fashion, but I'll take that over literally being trapped for the rest of my life inside of my own body watching a white man control it. Like that's
Things worse than death. Yeah.
scary.
yeah.
But anyway, get back on point. So that's like my brand of thing. So I still think that Get Out is the best movie out of all three of those movies. So watching all the Jordan Peele's movies and then the one that he has coming out, like the football one, a lot of the movies seem like cautionary tales in some way, shape, or form. Like you should take something away from this movie, and it's either like this is how, if we're centering around the black community, this is how, like Nope was pretty much, I think the semblance of the lesson was like the entertainment industry will
Yes.
basically use and abuse you.
Yeah.
Spectacle. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're a spectacle, you're gonna be used and abused, and you should be cautionary of that. Get out.
So then what's the message for us? Because that, you know, that's the one talking about tethers and all that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
And then that's a good question, because you know that's another reason why out of all three of them, I think Us is the one I like the least because I understand it the least.
That boy's so fire. I ain't gonna lie.
I mean, it's fine. It's a good movie.
Us is probably the scariest one, to be real. Because like I'm gonna be real, like
As
just
well.
Somebody
like
take your
thinking
place in life and nobody knows.
Once again, that's still not scarier than. Have y'all ever had sleep paralysis before?
yes, bro, yes, but
Yeah.
So
I'm
imagine
saying
sleep paralysis, but instead of you just being trapped in your bed, you can't talk and you can't speak. You're trapped inside of your body, and a white man is, I don't know, doing a hokey pokey and turning himself around. In your body.
playing crochet.
Oh, scarier than you basically being in hell eating rabbits for the rest of your life. And nobody's looking for you because there is a
They don't
task
know.
here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty messed up, but I still hold true that first movie, that's some scary stuff to think about. But yeah, it's just like all the Jordan Peele's movies is like a cautionary tale, us being the factor that I can't think of right now in the moment. But so that in contrast to this Ryan Coogler movie, I feel like it can be looked at as a cautionary tale. And I won't ramble about what I think the conjecture of it is, but it's more so like this is a movie that we can finally like champion, not champion, because you can champion the Jordan Peele movies as well. But it's like Black Panther, but it's not. The problem with
It's not a
Black Panther
superhero.
is, yeah, the problem with Black Panther is it's already an existing character in series within an existing universe. So as a director, you can't really touch and make it 100% yours. I feel like this movie, Ryan Coogler made it 100% his, and by proxy made it 100% us. Like
Mm.
Mm.
you just were talking about like how you have ancestry from the South. A lot of us do,
Mhm.
and you know you have somebody directly in your family that you can go to and be like, yeah, man, I was a sharecropper too, and you know, like you have musicians, you have blues music. I
Mm.
forgot the actor's name that you mentioned
Buddy
earlier,
Guy,
Troy.
I believe.
Yes, yeah. He
Hmm.
said in the movie he was like something along the lines of like the Christianity they pushed that on us, but blues we made that. We know
We
we
made
went
that
yeah, we went through stuff.
Slim said that.
We went through hell. Yeah, we went through hell, and we made this is the genre of music that we crafted to express ourselves. So I feel like that's where the difference is between I would say a Jordan Peele movie and this is that it's not a cautionary tale. It's something that we can really champion as like our own. Um, and on top of that, it's a vampire movie, and we just need more black movies in that. You know, it's kind of like in the realm of like uh fiction and it's like it's not already an existing property, so like Black Panther, and it's not a movie or a TV show about people selling drugs.
And before you
It's
say
like,
anything else, Taz, I was gonna say the you also thinking about like how you know about how to be you always say like oh the black person gets killed first in the movies. So it's
mhm.
like from us to go
Yeah.
from getting killed first in a horror movie to like having our own like films. I think it's like it's a beautiful testament to like who we are as a people.
Yeah, so it's beautiful, and that's well said too, Sean. It's like yeah, we've came a long way, and I think that's like kind of where the difference is, because I can watch this movie and have pretty much a great time. I'm watching Jordan Peele movie and I'm stressed out and I'm thinking about the state of the world. I'm thinking
No,
about the
seriously.
yeah, like I'm thinking about the social
Economic state of
aspects
the
of it.
world.
Yeah, literally. And then it's also like, especially with Get Out, you can see yourself. I don't know. I might be just be speaking about myself. I can see myself in that situation that happened inside of Sinners more so than I couldn't Get Out. Mainly because I'm not going home with a white woman in the middle of the woods, disconnected from everybody. Sorry, Ben. I'm looking at your face. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's just like I'm literally watching this movie the whole time. You know how we are in movie theaters, like black people, the age-old joke of we yelling at the screen, "Hey, don't go in there! Hey, don't do that!" That's me the whole Jordan Peele movie. I wasn't like that with Sinners. One of the craziest things about Sinners is the build up of like the first hour of the movie is literally them getting ready for a function to have a good time. And when
Uh,
all of the things went to hell, that made it hit even harder because it's like, dang, they really was just trying to have a good night. And vampires pulled up. But I'm kind of rambling off topic, so that's my point. I'll concede for right now.
Um,
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
Well, it's kind of a question, kind of a statement, because ironically, with Sinners, I know it's at least on Google, it's considered a horror adventure, and I know Get Out is more considered a thriller. Us is, and I know we're kind of getting away from the Sinners conversation, but it's relevant. Us is, I think the more horror one, and I don't think Nope is considered necessarily horror. I'm not too sure. I have to check that. I just know the idea was like blockbuster or whatever kind of the deal. Sinners is probably the one. Sinners and probably Nope are the only two that I would be like, hey, I'm with my folks. I'm with the older folks. Let's kind of watch this. Because I know I'm not going to get you with Us. I'm not going to get you with Get Out if I had to pick one of the four. Or maybe possibly one, two of the four. Sinners, okay, most of it, and the vampire stuff really isn't that scary, if we're being honest. For a horror movie, if you watch a lot of horror movies, it really wasn't all that, which is okay. I don't really need it to be. Because I know I can invite my mom or I'm telling my dad, hey, do you want to check out this flick? And he's like, oh, yeah, definitely, absolutely. Like, he actually is interested rather than like, well, my mom, she said it's called Sinners. I ain't watching that. So that's why I'm like, maybe, maybe not. But I think that is another part of it, too, where I'm like, as a horror sort of like enjoyer, this one almost felt like because it's made by us for us, like I'm a little more inclined out of like every other horror movie I think that's kind of been out / coming out.
That makes sense.
Well, I'm glad that we got a horror movie that wasn't really based on like I feel like a lot of the horror movies we got in recently have either been like they're either like your typical Freddy versus Jason or something like that, or your Scream, or you're going to like the demonic side, like the Nun or like Paranormal Activity. So I feel like this is it being vampires. You would think like, oh, I mean everybody knows vampires, but they did it in such an original way. Even how the vampires look. I don't know about y'all, but them eyes was kind of like it was a little
The
freaky.
effects were good.
Effects were
Yes,
good.
bro.
Yeah, dog.
Definitely an underrated piece. But we are approaching an hour, so I do want to just sort of like present this opportunity for anyone to have any kind of like last, I don't know, like feelings or points that you just like really want to share about your experience watching it or your opinions of the movie.
My very last one is this beautiful line at the end of the movie where Dog was like, "The last time I seen the sun is when I saw my brother." I can't even lie to y'all, fellas. That one got me. I was like, wow. Like I kind of did cry at that line because I'm just like, it's such a double entendre, bro, with him being a vampire, but also off the strength of like, I mean, he loved his brother. You know what I'm saying? So even being a vampire. But like y'all said earlier, like that kind of like you would think like, oh, he's evil, especially he did kill his wife. So like that was pretty twisted. But I think that I think the line was beautifully put though. Like I thought that was very poetic to end the movie. But yeah. All in all, final score. I know I said 8.8, but take it to a 9.9, bro. Like I feel like being black, I just can't go no lower than a 9. I can't.
I love it.
That's silly. Anyone else? No.
I guess I'll get mine out the way. I don't want this to be something where we have to start comparing our black actors. All of them can be bad at once. I mean, black directors. All of them can be baddies at once, is the point. I personally feel like the big differential part between the two is that maybe Jordan is really good, I think, at just making like the point of like the scary, the get you there, the anticipation, the creepy. He's very good at that point. And I think he sometimes builds out the other parts maybe after or like kind of not necessarily as secondary, but it's not necessarily like the first part he gets. Meanwhile, with Coogler, I think he be trying to make these movies mean something.
Oh yeah.
Like from the jump every single time, and this one just happened to be encapsulated in this horror genre and the vampires and all that other stuff, which is kind of why maybe it feels a little jumbled sometimes. But personally, I love it, and I really enjoyed this one. And I also think that despite social media kind of not overselling it, because the point is to get people to want to see it. But I think it's just that maybe we just on the internet too much where I'm just seeing the same thing. It's a 10, it's a 10, it's a 10. All right, I'm going to see it the first day then. It's not necessarily a 10, but now I got to live through feeling like I'm late to seeing a movie I already saw. Like, that is crazy, but also it's just kind of how hype works. So, I don't know. I definitely, for anybody that's watching it, whether it's still in theaters or is on streaming by the time you check this out, definitely check it out. And I just really hope you enjoy it for what it is and not for what you may have saw on the internet, because I think it's much more than that.
Well said, bro.
Thank you.
Anyone else before we wrap up?
I'm seeing a lot of people online, and I think some of you said this too, about how another thing that Ryan Coogler is really good with, I think, is world building. I think he crafted a really interesting world to the point where a lot of people wants to see a lot more, and he wrote the characters in the way in which we want to see a lot more from them. So I guess my last point is that Although I love to see a whole series, several movies set in just this world alone. I think it's beauty in letting things, lie. I think it's beauty in just like letting, like just film just be its own film. If he does circle the block and decides like to make a sequel or whatever, of course I'm gonna be in the theaters. He won it off of me. I'm not gonna be opposed to it. But I think it's beauty in just like an artist, because directors are artists, film is their medium. Is it beauty in like an artist just like getting the point across that they wanted to get a point and just leaving it there and like not touching it, not overstretching it, over saying it's welcome. And I forgot who made this point earlier, but it's like the fact that we want more, that just means that he wrote and crafted a very beautiful film with characters that we really want to be around. And I don't want it to be sullied by, potentially going down the Star Wars route. It's like, yeah, now it's 52,000 films and 92 series. Um, or like Marvel. It's like, just let it be alone. Just let's let it be its own thing, and we can appreciate it. We can run it back 100 times, and we already know the next movie that he makes is gonna be great.
Yeah.
Well said, bro.
Anyone else? No. Cool. Well, I mean, we do appreciate everybody that did tune into this. We appreciate everybody that joined in and engaged with us. We're definitely going to continue experimenting with this as like a potential format. I think this was really cool. Personally, I think we can definitely continue to like expand on this, just like type of content and type of discussion. The one thing I do want to just say about the actual movie to wrap things up is just go see it. It's cool to have these types of discussions. It's cool to engage on social media. However, at the end of the day, it's art, and you can go see it and experience it completely differently from any of the things that we shared. You can go see it and maybe even consider some of the things that you've heard on social media or in discussions like these that might add some additional value to it. You never know. Like at the end of the day, it's the most important thing is to consume it and be an active consumer and be as like open to just however you interpret it. So we appreciate again if you watch this, if you listen to it, however we're going to deliver it, and let us know if you want more. Yeah.